15 Most Disturbing Audio Recordings Ever Found. Number 15. Jonestown. The People's Temple Agricultural Project, better known by its informal name Jonestown, was a remote commune in Guyana established by the People's Temple, an American religious cult led by Jim Jones. On November 18, 1978, 918 people died in a coordinated mass murder-suicide across 3 locations: the Jonestown compound, a nearby airstrip in Port Kaituma, and the group's headquarters in Georgetown, making Jonestown internationally infamous. The name of the settlement became synonymous with the incidents at those locations. A total of 909 individuals died in Jonestown itself, all but 2 from apparent cyanide poisoning, many of whom were injected against their will. Jones and some People's Temple members referred to the act as a revolutionary suicide on an audio tape of the event, and in prior recorded discussions. Number 14. Golden State Killer. Joseph James DeAngelo Jr., born November 8, 1945, is an American serial killer, serial rapist, and former police officer known as the Golden State Killer, the original Night Stalker, the East Area Rapist, and the Visalia Ransacker, who committed 13 murders and numerous rapes and burglaries across California between 1974 and 1986. DeAngelo's crimes began in Northern California, where he committed a minimum of 120 burglaries and 1 murder in the San Joaquin Valley, before moving to Sacramento County, where he committed at least 51 rapes and 2 more murders from 1976 to 1979. In Southern California, DeAngelo murdered at least 10 people from 1979 until 1986 before going dormant. After committing a series of highly publicized burglaries in and around Visalia, DeAngelo escalated to raping victims in East Sacramento and was additionally linked to attacks in Stockton, Modesto, and Contra Costa County. Number 13. BTK Killer. Dennis Lynn Rader, born March 9, 1945, better known by his pseudonym BTK, for bind, torture, kill, is an American serial killer and mass murderer who killed at least 10 people in Wichita and Park City, Kansas, between 1974 and 1991. Although he occasionally killed or attempted to kill men and children, Rader typically targeted women. His victims were often attacked in their homes and then bound, sometimes with objects from their homes, and either suffocated with a plastic bag or manually strangled with a ligature. In a series of crimes that terrorized Wichita in the mid to late 1970s, Rader also initiated a series of taunting letters sent to police and media outlets, describing his crimes in detail and referring to himself as BTK. In addition, he stole keepsakes from his female victims, including underwear, driver's licenses, and personal items. Number 12. Waco Siege. The Waco Siege, also known as the Waco Massacre, was the siege by U.S. federal government and Texas state law enforcement officials of a compound belonging to the religious cult known as the Branch Davidians, between February 28 and April 19 of 1993, which culminated in the massacre of 76 civilians, including 28 children. The Branch Davidians, led by David Koresh, were headquartered at Mount Carmel Center Ranch in unincorporated McLennan County, Texas, 13 miles, 21 kilometers, northeast of Waco. Suspecting the group of stockpiling illegal weapons, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, ATF, obtained a search warrant for the compound and arrest warrants for Koresh and several of the group's members. The ATF had planned a sudden daylight raid of the ranch in order to serve these warrants. Any advantage of surprise was lost when a local reporter who had been tipped off about the raid asked for directions from a U.S. Postal Service mail carrier who was coincidentally Koresh's brother-in-law. Number 11. Charles Manson. Charles Millis Manson, N. Maddox, November 12, 1934 – November 19, 2017, was an American criminal, cult leader, and musician who was the founder of the Manson family. He gained notoriety for ordering the Tate LaBianca murders, where his followers murdered 9 people around Los Angeles in 1969. Before the murders, Manson had spent more than half of his life in correctional institutions. While gathering his cult followers, he was a singer-songwriter on the fringe of the Los Angeles music industry, chiefly through an association with Dennis Wilson of the Beach Boys, who introduced Manson to record producer Terry Melcher. In 1968, the Beach Boys recorded Manson's song Cease to Exist, renamed Never Learn Not to Love as a single B-side, but Manson was uncredited. Number 10. Jim Jones. James Warren Jones, May 13, 1931 – November 18, 1978, was an American cult leader, preacher, and mass murderer who founded and led the People's Temple between 1955 and 1978. Jones and the members of his inner circle planned and orchestrated a mass murder-suicide that resulted in the deaths of over 900 people, including 304 children. He described the action as revolutionary suicide, a term coined by Huey P. Newton. The people went to their deaths at the remote jungle commune which they had developed at Jonestown, Guyana, on November 18, 1978. Number 9. David Koresh. David Koresh, born Vernon Wayne Howell, August 17, 1959 – April 19, 1993, was an American cult leader and preacher who played a central role in the Waco siege of 1993. As the head of the Branch Davidians, a religious sect, Koresh claimed to be its final prophet. His apocalyptic biblical teachings, including interpretations of the Book of Revelation and the Seven Seals, attracted various followers. Coming from a dysfunctional background, Koresh was a member and later a leader of the Branch Davidians, a movement originally led by Benjamin Roden, based at the Mount Carmel Center outside Waco, Texas. There, Koresh competed for dominance with another leader, Benjamin Roden's son George, until Koresh and his followers took over Mount Carmel in 1987. Number 8. Zodiac Killer. The Zodiac Killer, also known by the pseudonym The Zodiac, is an unidentified serial killer who murdered at least 5 people in the San Francisco Bay Area between December 1968 and October 1969. The Zodiac attacked 3 couples and a cab driver in Benicia, Vallejo, unincorporated Napa County, and the city of San Francisco. 2 of the Zodiac's 7 victims survived. In a series of letters mailed to Bay Area newspapers, the Zodiac took credit for the murders, described details known only to police, threatened bombings and more murders if the newspapers did not print his letters, and included cryptograms with his correspondence. 2 of the Zodiac's 4 cryptograms were decrypted in 1969 and 2020, and the other 2 remain unsolved. Number 7. Columbine High School Massacre. On April 20, 1999, high school senior students Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold murdered 13 students and 1 teacher in a school shooting and attempted bombing at Columbine High School in Columbine, Colorado, United States. 20 people were injured by the gunfire, and 3 others were injured while trying to escape. The attack ended when Harris and Klebold committed suicide. The Columbine Massacre was the deadliest mass shooting at a K-12 school in U.S. history until December 2012. Number 6. Night Stalker. Ricardo Leyva Muaz Ramirez, February 29, 1960 – June 7, 2013, better known as Richard Ramirez, was an American serial killer, sex offender, and burglar whose killing spree occurred in Greater Los Angeles and the San Francisco Bay Area in the state of California. From April 1984 to August 1985, Ramirez murdered at least 15 people during various break-ins. With his crimes usually taking place after dark, Ramirez was dubbed the Night Stalker, the Walk-In Killer, and the Valley Intruder. He was convicted and sentenced to death in 1989 and died while awaiting execution in 2013. Ramirez's crimes were heavily influenced by a troubled childhood. Number 5. Ted Bundy. Theodore Robert Bundy, N. Cowell, November 24, 1946 – January 24, 1989, was an American serial killer who kidnapped, raped and murdered dozens of young women and girls between 1974 and 1978. His modus operandi typically consisted of convincing his target that he was in need of assistance or duping them into believing he was an authority figure. He would then lure his victim to his vehicle, at which point he would bludgeon them unconscious, then restrain them with handcuffs before driving them to a remote location to be sexually assaulted and killed. Bundy killed his first definitively known victim in February 1974 in Washington, and his later crimes stretched to Oregon, Colorado, Utah, Idaho, and Florida. He frequently revisited the bodies of his victims, grooming and performing sex acts on the corpses until decomposition and destruction by wild animals made further interactions impossible. Number 4. Aileen Wuornos. Aileen Carol Wuornos N.E. Pittman, February 29, 1956 – October 9, 2002, was an American serial killer. Between 1989 and 1990, while engaging in street prostitution along highways in Florida, Wuornos shot, killed, and robbed 7 of her male clients. She initially claimed that her victims had either raped or attempted to rape her, and that the homicides were committed in self-defense, but later abandoned this defense. Wuornos was sentenced to death for 6 of the murders and was executed in 2002 after spending more than 10 years on Florida's death row. Number 3. Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer, May 21, 1960 – November 28, 1994, also known as the Milwaukee Cannibal or the Milwaukee Monster, was an American serial killer and sex offender who killed and dismembered 17 men and boys between 1978 and 1991. Dahmer committed his first murder in Ohio in 1978. He did not resume killing until 1987. The modus operandi for many of his later crimes involved him luring a victim to his Wisconsin apartment where they would be drugged, sexually assaulted, and murdered. Many of his later murders involved necrophilia, cannibalism, and the permanent preservation of body parts, typically all or part of the skeleton. Dahmer was arrested in 1991 after an intended victim escaped from his apartment. Number 2. John Wayne Gacy. John Wayne Gacy, March 17, 1942 – May 10, 1994, was an American serial